catch on the right side. A 3-yard touchdown pass in overtime. Kansas City wins the game 25-22.
You have to say it is a very good Monday morning. Welcome to Wake Up Mid-Missouri. I'm Randy Tobler. There's Stephanie Bell back from across the pond.
I'm back, and just in time for a Chiefs win.
There
What
you go.
an incredible game.
She brought us some good luck. She usually brings us snow when she comes back into town, but we'll take the Chiefs win.
And John Marsh, are you
About them Chiefs.
wiping the sleep out of your eyes? It was a late
Yes,
one,
sir.
wasn't it? Yeah, I'm
That
telling
was a good one.
Yeah,
I
it
was going to
good.
be real salty if I stayed up, for overtime even, and we were going to lose.
Oh, man,
So-
what a victory. Hannah, that was exciting, exciting, exciting. We're going to have to play that a couple times, man. That'll get you going on a Monday morning.
It really will. And then, we have to talk about Taylor Swift. So if you tuned in this morning and you're one of those people that says, don't talk about Taylor Swift, I'm sorry. We get one more day because she was there, and there's lots to update you on. There was no engagement, but what a fairy tale story. And, watching her emotions throughout the game, I mean, at some point, I think she was biting her nails. I think I was literally, Hannah, that emoji that for the last part of the game where I'm just peeking. I almost couldn't watch. I was so stressed.
And you think her boyfriend wasn't excited?
Viva Las Vegas! Viva Las Vegas! Viva! Viva Las Vegas!
He's one of those guys that you just always wonder if he's intoxicated, but really he's just like that. Lots of
high
energy.
on life.
Yes.
Oh, man, something else.
We need to drag out last year's deal where he went on with Jimmy Fallon and sang Fight for Your Right.
Yeah.
The parade will be rolling through Kansas City on Wednesday.
Wow, parade on
Have they
Wednesday.
called off school yet?
I do not know. I am sure they probably will.
Wow. Third Super Bowl in 5 years.
Yeah, I had some friends down in Power and Light and other places, and to watch their videos from last night. I mean, the city, and then to see all the fireworks going off.
It was amazing.
Oh
I
my
couldn't
gosh.
believe it. It was unbelievable. And just an exciting game. Well, it started off a little bit sullen, sort of boring, a lot of defense and a lot of fumbles. And I thought, oh, no, is this going to be the Chiefs of near the end of the season before they got their stuff together? But no, they got it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a win. It was ugly.
Yeah.
The first part of the game was, had me stressed, but I think those last few minutes make up for it.
I texted my good friend Brian Hansen, during that first half. I said, my gosh, they look like amateur hour. It just didn't look like the Chiefs we expect.
No.
But there's something else, and Mahomes certainly came to the fore at the end there. And he's, of
And
course,
how about the D blocking that extra point?
Oh, yeah.
He made the deal.
It's a different game. He makes that point. The strategy changes. Everything's different. It was something. Patrick Mahomes, the MVP for the second time. So something else. And I'm glad the new rules were in place as far as the overtime goes. Now,
Certainly worked in our favor.
the old rules would. My chair did it again to me.
Now, people were saying though that they made the wrong call. That on the flip, you should have done it the other way.
You should have kicked.
You should have kicked,
Yeah.
and that you should have let the other team go first. Was that the consensus? And they said they kind of that anyone in their right mind would have made a different call there.
I disagree with that completely.
Okay.
I think you take the ball first. I mean, you're in the Super Bowl. You're there to win. I've always said that, but there are others who feel differently. I think but the bottom line, you have to score a touchdown. But I do think they made the right call.
Now, under the old rules, since they just scored a field goal, the Chiefs would have had a chance to play. But under the old rules, if they'd have scored a touchdown, then the game would be over, right?
Yeah,
and they changed it in 21.
And under the old rules, that field goal would have been enough to win the game. Actually,
The old
sudden
rules.
death,
yeah,
right?
I mean, exactly. It's a team. They've changed it so many times. It's really hard to keep up with it. And
I'm certainly thankful for the rule
Oh
changes.
boy,
this
I'm
morning.
glad for that.
Yeah, the old rule used to be the deal where, each team got to possess the ball unless somebody scored a touchdown on the opening kickoff is the way it used to be.
And the college game has impacted that a little bit too, because it's been more considered by a lot of people to be more fair or whatever. But it gave both teams a chance for the ball. And I think the bottom line with the 49ers is they missed some huge opportunities in that game. They did. Huge win for the Chiefs, though.
And the announcers toward the end of the game were saying some things, and I heard a lot of people. I mean, I was confused. So if we would have gotten down to the end and we would have kicked a field goal, we would have been tied again.
Yeah.
Then would we have just started over, kind of the overtime over?
Keep on going.
And then is it sudden death from there?
Then it's sudden death in the second quarter.
My understanding, yeah. And again, that's my understanding. I've never seen that before. But yes, the game would not end in a tie.
How many times has the Super Bowl gone into overtime?
I'm only aware of two.
I think it's just a couple times.
28 years. I mean, it's just to the point where I could tell Nance and Romo were not expecting. I mean, maybe they had some producer ready to go, but they were getting stuff up on the screen, and it was just interesting, the whole thing. I'm sure their ratings are going to be through the roof.
Great game. Well, and I think the number of viewers went up because of the Swift Kelsey, deal going on there. Oh, and then I saw it was who is Ice Spice? Spice Ice?
I had to Google it. I don't know.
There was a Twitter that said that Taylor Swift's guest, Ice Spice,
There was a Twitter.
was wearing an upside down cross and doing demonic signals. And I don't know. Does anyone know who's Ice Spice?
Probably a Niners fan.
Who's Ice Spice? I don't know.
I don't know.
I did Google her. She's a rapper.
I was going to say she performed at the Grammys. That was the only reason I was familiar.
The only person I was looking at was Blake Lively, who was her support system. She looked great. People said she looked like, is it Sue Sylvester off of Glee? She had a tracksuit on.
Yeah, I could see it.
And but she was so nervous, and she was you could tell she was being the most supportive friend. She was clapping, but not bothering Taylor when Taylor was all nervous. I loved it. I love Blake Lively. You know who that is, right?
Who?
Blake Lively.
Come on.
It was a lively game. I know that. That's all I know. Blake Lively, is that a boy or a girl?
It's a girl.
Oh, it's a girl.
She's an actress, but I mean, they
married to Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah,
She was on Gossip Girl.
Is that Ryan Gosling? Different guy. Ryan Reynolds, a different Ryan. There's two Ryans out there that are famous now, right? Ryan Reynolds.
Yep.
Okay.
She's a mom.
Huh?
She's a mom.
Oh,
Yeah, but
Randy,
to your question, I did not see these demonic symbols, so I don't know. Maybe other people did. Now, what I did see in that game was there appeared to be a very uncomfortable bump between Kelsey and the coach, and that got a lot.
What was that all about?
I don't know. But
because he wasn't being played, right?
It appeared to me that Kelsey was yelling at his coach.
Travis was asked about it, and he said he was going to keep it between him and the coach, but that,
he was chuckling about it.
Yeah, and he was saying, I was just telling him how much I love him. It did not look like that.
I don't think
No.
I wonder what do you do? The whole game after that, I thought to myself, if you're the coach, how do you handle that? Your premier player, one of your premier players, pulls something that's insubordinate. I mean, I think on the face of it, anyone would say that's insubordinate.
You just
what
can't
do you do?
I don't know.
It was pretty obvious Big Red was saying, you could see him looking at Kelsey because he surprised him, and you could see him just telling him to cool it.
Yeah, and he was asked about it, and I think he said something to the effect of, I've got 5 kids. I know, big emotions when I see them. And, and then he just pivoted and said, my favorite thing about Travis is he loves to play the game and he wants to win. And he was saving face yesterday, but how do you not address that privately? And what does Taylor say to Travis about that?
In terms of maintaining order on the team and respect and authority, right? There's a certain balance.
Nothing. They won.
Well, they won, but there's other players. That's the other players. I didn't like the look of that.
Nope.
I did not like the look of that.
Especially for young boys watching it and young girls, but people that are on teams.
And a great player, no question. But that did not look good. No.
I got a kick out of some of the headlines, even locally, about it. Travis Kelsey pushes Andy Reid and he stumbles several yards. It was not that. It was not that
and
bad.
it did look like he caught him off balance and surprised him from behind, and even it almost looked a little bit like it surprised Travis.
Well, and Coach Reid looked so unbothered by Travis being in his face.
Actually,
and I saw a tweet that's Andy Reid has been coaching Travis for 11 years now, and just, they have the relationship where they can just kind of, get upset with each other and forgive each other 30 seconds later.
Yeah, but I agree with you, Brian. I'm a little less concerned about their working it out than I am the example it sets, not only for the rest of his teammates, but for people watching, especially young athletes.
It was that fellow player that had to pull him away, and I just think back, can you imagine if someone would have gone and bumped Tom Landry or Chuck Noll?
Ooh.
You think that would have happened?
No, I don't think so.
My gut feeling
No
is
more
no.
than once.
Maybe.
I didn't like it. I'm a huge fan of him, but I didn't like it. Nonetheless, they were impressive, and they did a great job. And by the way, Governor Gavin Newsom and Governor Mike Parson were at the game, and
Tailgating.
They have their arms around each other, not in agreement on politics, but they raised money for Special Olympics. And I bring that up because if you look at their Twitter feed, both of them are being ripped. People can't even enjoy a Super Bowl football game. One guy's giving the middle finger to Gavin Newsom. Parsons had terrible things said at him.
Gosh.
Folks, they're getting together to celebrate the Special Olympics at the Super Bowl. No more than that. They're not saying they agree with each other, but I just are we that divided we can't even come together at the Super Bowl to raise money for Special Olympics?
And in that vein, later on, I want to talk about the controversy surrounding the washing the feet he gets us commercial.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to talk about that at 6:35. I want your opinion on that. Scott Faughn's in at 7:10. Perhaps Travis Kelce heard our discussion about Jennifer Bukowski getting yelled at with the Palestinian protesters.
I was warning Stephanie this morning about how fired up you got
and
about
someone
this.
trying to knock Secretary of
comments. You and I were texting about it this weekend.
That's one of those reckless comments that gets him in trouble.
Well, and I think one of the reasons I feel that I've supported Trump and because I think he's strong on the international stage, and I think this is a misstep by him. And I think that's one good criticism of Biden is he showed, in the pullout, for example, of Afghanistan, that we are not a good ally necessarily. And I think that puts us in a place of weakness. And so to hear this from Trump that perhaps we wouldn't stand by our friends and that, he's going to kind of turn things over to Russia, not a good look. And I wonder, he never walks things back, but he's taking some heat. Nikki Haley's been out pretty hard against him for this, and the Democrats too.
And on the heels of the Tucker Carlson interview with Putin, many in MAGA world are Tucker fans, and I like Tucker's work, but many are saying, well, my gosh, he was just a shill for Putin. Didn't throw many fastballs. This together just doesn't look good for the movement.
It's not great. It's not great. Well, the Senate worked overtime this weekend. They voted 67-27 to approve a $95.3 billion measure to assist Ukraine. At the same time, there's a lot of D.C. news this weekend. At the same time, we're hearing Lloyd Austin is back in the hospital, something to do with his bladder. But I don't think we heard anything that he was. I thought he was just going to be fine, right? The initial procedure was supposed to be fine. Then he went in the hospital. Then he was at home doing okay, and now he's back in the hospital.
I understand complications from prostate surgery. It can happen. Roughly 30 to 50% of the time you can have incontinence after a procedure like that, but that wouldn't be admission. He's in the critical care unit. He's in ICU.
I believe so.
Transferred power to the deputy.
Yeah. So not good news there. Also, we've got Biden on. He had a bad week last week, and he is back on the cameras today, which I'm actually surprised by. He is giving an address at the National Association of Counties this morning, and then he's hosting Jordan's King today in Washington, and they're set to have a meeting, and then he's supposed to give I think they're giving joint remarks afterwards. And given all of the blunders from last week, this is not looking like a good idea for him today.
Can you imagine the amount of Xanax that his staff must be taking? Can you just think? I mean, your job is to try to make him look good and try to keep him in line, no matter who the president is. They need a lot of guidance, and hey, go here. We got you scheduled there. I get that.
That's how they paid for the big pharma Pfizer commercial on the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to the halftime show or the Super Bowl commercials, which we were going to have to get to. And there were some that RFK commercial, which
that
did
was
you
wild.
See? He came out and responded and said, "Look, I wasn't responsible for that ad. So if you're mad about it, I didn't have anything to do with it."
Whatever.
So,
it's a great commercial, though. I mean, it was nostalgic.
I thought it was good too.
Great. Yeah.
I don't know if there wasn't really any other political commercials that I saw. Did you see any others? That one was the one that stuck out to me. All right. We are also we do have a special election to replace special election for George Santos' seat coming up on Tuesday. So I know we're all looking at 2024, but there are some other things going on that might foreshadow some of the events in 2024. So we will keep our eye on that. And then where Congress goes with these funding bills and whether or not they will find consensus, it's not looking good. And I mean, are you holding out any hope for the speaker right now? I mean,
I think he's in a world of hot water, but by the same token, who's going to do any better job as long as it's fractious like it is?
That's really a fair point, I think, Randy. But I think that we had this Freedom Caucus. They got rid of McCarthy, but I don't think we're in a better spot now than we were.
I don't think so either. They're talking about a second try at the Mayorkas impeachment too.
Yes, they are expected to vote on that again, which they saved it by flipping a vote. Do you think they're going to get it the second time around?
I don't know. Scalise has to come back. He's being treated for blood cancer, so if they get him back. If they replace Santos, they get people in there. They may or may not be able to do it. But hey, the other big news over the weekend: Mayorkas finally admitted it's a crisis. Finally admitted it's a crisis.
I thought they weren't allowed to use that word.
I know. We're gradually moving him to reality. ton in the Jefferson City area, prosecutors and crime and punishment. That'll be great. We'll get to all that before we talk to Scott Faughn at 7:10. Stephanie's back from across the pond.
I am.
Now, don't you get jet lag going the other way usually, right? Isn't it worse going east than coming west?
I think it's both.
Both ways.
Both ways. And last time, of course, when I got back, I got COVID, so that didn't help at all either.
Yeah. You don't seem lagged. Seem chipper.
I'm feeling good. I mean, how can you not be feeling good the morning after the Chiefs win?
Well, that's true.
I'm afraid it's going to catch up with me later today. I might need a bit of a nap.
And Hannah's been schooling me in some of the names I didn't recognize with the halftime show. So we have to talk about some of the...
I didn't know everyone either. We had a text thread going of like, who's this girl? Who's that girl?
That made me feel so good when you don't know something about something that I think you should know.
There were some surprises, and even there were some people on stage. I'm like, who is that? Right? I mean,
yeah, the girl with the really long hair that had the really cool guitar solo.
Yes.
I didn't know who she was.
That was her. H.E.R. I believe. But then, like, the person who looked almost like they were short, that was, who was that Jim? Okay, I'm going to get it wrong. I'm not going to say it, but I didn't know who that was. And I was like, who is this? And they weren't putting, like, chyrons on the bottom like this person. Maybe because they didn't know either.
Little cameo appearances. Usher himself. Hey, John, I didn't get a lot of emoji laughs from the ladies on the text thread. When Usher took his shirt off, I said, yeah, they AI'd my bod on him, really, just to make him look good.
I thought that was really weird. And
wasn't that weird?
And I think one of the funniest things was when someone's like, there's a streaker on the field. They're like, well, Usher, was...
Yeah, it was Usher.
That's pretty gratuitous, really, if you think about it. I don't know. Just didn't go anywhere.
I thought it was weird. I mean, how old is Usher? He is like... I mean, he's got a nice body for being that old.
Well into his 40s. Yeah.
He's ripped, though. I mean, you got to say that.
But
45.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he's looking pretty good for 45. But he, it just wasn't. I mean, that is and it's like I'm finally reached the age where I'm the target demographic for the social or for the halftime show of social media. And so I saw that and I was like, oh yeah, that's great. And so I should have been the person that was like, yes. And I was looking forward to it. I like Usher. I love Ludacris. Have seen him in concert. Actually, at a country concert. He's amazing. I've seen him perform, live. That was a great...
Which one was Ludacris?
The only one I picked up on was Alicia Keys, and I'm like, who are all these people?
Alicia Keys did an amazing job. I think Alicia Keys and Ludacris saved the show, really.
Who's Ludacris? Was he the guy with the glasses?
He did. He had on like a helmet thing first. Yeah. He had like the hair.
Well, he had like a derby, didn't he? Who was the guy?
He was kind of rocking the big fro.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he was the fro guy.
Yeah, okay. I think you're thinking of Lil Jon.
Oh, who was the guy with the little glasses? Looks sort of like Mr. Magoo.
I thought the roller skating was cool.
I thought that was terrible.
How can they do acrobatics and land on their skates? I was impressed.
I know.
I did like the Cirque du Soleil. It had a little bit of Cirque du Soleil in it. And, being in Las Vegas, and I've seen shows in Las Vegas that have the roller skating as part of it. So that was like the nod to Vegas I thought was special.
It wasn't nearly as involved, I guess, with the stage. Like he started in one of the end zones kind of, and then there was another stage in the middle of the field, but it was just the grass in between those two things. There was no big elaborate setup.
And he didn't come flying out of the sky on a wire, like was that Lady Gaga that did that one? I don't know. One of them's been floating around at one of them.
Yeah.
I forget who that was.
It was much less involved. You're right, Hannah, than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And there were people like on poles at some point. I didn't really appreciate that, but I did appreciate the acrobatics.
See, my money was going to be on Randy being upset about that. Stephanie, I didn't think it would be you.
But upset about what? I don't get upset about anything.
There was some pole dancing. It was kind of in the background.
It was pretty, as far as pole dancing goes, it was pretty tame.
How much experience do you have seeing pole dancing?
I know. That's when John turned off the TV when the pole dancing came on. I know that.
I was busy getting chicken wings.
You know what? You couldn't have nothing could have happened during the Super Bowl that would have ruined the night for me because of this. I'm going to move forward.
You're not going to have the opportunity to play ever again.
I was starting at ground zero. It's the hardest time.
I'll move here.
It's been a hell of a journey, baby.
We came here to do a job.
At the very open.
Who we really
I've never
are.
seen as effective an opening. This was an amazing opening. With Sinatra in the Sphere.
It was so good.
And the orchestra. It was just so grand and so big. And the football players'
I owe everything
voices.
to them. It takes a village, man. Without my mom and dad, I would not be here today.
My mom passed away. My sister filled that void in my life.
There's so many people that have helped me get to this point.
It hasn't just been a one-man show the whole way.
That was just that was one of the best openers I've seen. What do you vote? Good?
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. No, I like that. And you mentioned the Sphere, and I loved how the Sphere had the American flag
Oh,
on.
yeah.
And we talked about Governor Parson with Gavin Newsom, but also I saw Governor Parson got to meet Reba, which is very exciting, and I thought she did a fabulous job.
And that was
rocked it, yeah.
Yeah, that was a follow-up great moment was Reba's Star Spangled Banner. She just sang it 90 seconds, did the job, not going out of her way to be all about me. She just did. And when she was pointing to the flag over and over, I just thought it was so dramatic and wonderful. Hannah, were you happy with that opening? I know you're a Sinatra fan.
I think I maybe was still getting my buffalo chicken
Oh,
dip because
you're killing me.
I have no recollection of the opening.
Okay, Vic,
I saw the coin toss. I think that's the first thing I remember.
But that's the hard part. I mean, they should give you a break or something, because I was like, I don't want to go to the bathroom during the game or get more food, and I don't want to miss the commercials, and I don't want to miss the halftime show. I was stressed about it. And the commercials were good this year. I feel like that we had a better year than we have had.
So then there was a little commercial, and there's really no just music, but this was the He Gets Us commercial, the group that's trying to get people talking about Jesus, and just a series of pictures of foot washing with people washing other people's feet. And I was just focused on the foot washing and the humility involved and all of that. And then I started reading the Twitter feed, and man, there were some hateful comments at the abortion clinic. There's someone
that
washed.
was the one that went kind of viral, didn't it?
And and then at the very end, there is a stereotyped gay guy who's getting his feet washed by what looks like a priest. And I just thought the basic it's like I agreed with many of the Twitter feeds that said, can you just look at the simple message of, hey, let's love the sinner, not the sin. Can we just love the sinner, not the sin?
Well, and I even saw folks complaining about, the people that back this cause and how they're all, right-leaning and they support X, Y, and Z. And,
That's the Hobby Lobby guy.
Yeah.
Is the one with a lot of the dough behind those ads, I know.
Is he behind this? Because if you read the agenda, that surprises me. Because if you read the agenda, if you read their manifesto, they say that there are people who believe, they ask FAQs, do you believe Jesus is God, or is he? And they said, well, most of us do, or, something along those lines. Most of us do, but some people just admire the fact that Jesus was a human, a divine human who walked the earth and spread love. And I don't know, it's funny. I think the reaction to this commercial, I think, really embodies what's going on in our society, where it's just everyone is reactive, looking to pick a fight. Tell me if I'm wrong, 573-874-9390. The basic message of love your brother, And,
no, I think you're spot on with the, love the sinner, not the sin.
Yeah.
I think the world needs more of that because first and foremost, Christians are called to love one another, and I think that gets lost a lot of the time.
We spent a lot of time at church yesterday talking. It was ironic because I don't think any of the pastor knew it, but in the study hour, Bible study, the Matthew at the end of the story, we talked about, does God know you? Does God know you? And isn't that a scary thought? If God looked, I said, yeah, I'm sort of feeling like the Adam guy after he ate the apple. Now, God, look at me a little later. Give me a chance to work on this. And so we all fall short, right?
We do.
And so
I was tickled yesterday at church in the number of Chiefs jerseys in the
It was great.
I mean, you would have
That's
thought
great.
you would have thought we were having a Super Bowl party at church afterwards. I mean, everyone was in their
That's
Chiefs
great.
gear, and
That's great.
you know, they did the kind of the children's moment about messages and other things, and kind of interwove that into current culture, and I thought it was really sweet.
Yeah.
Talk about your Hail Marys, huh?
I successfully got my 2-year-old nephew to do the Kansas City.
Oh, did you?
And the best part of that is his parents are Steelers fans.
Even better.
Yeah, I taught him how to do that yesterday morning, and I think he said it for the rest of the day about every 30 seconds. So,
You know, I was surprised. I forget when I heard it, but it was when they were really charging at the end of the game. Boy, the Chiefs chant was pretty loud for a Western Coast stadium. You would think that the Niners fans...
That was full of Niners fans.
Wow, it was powerful.
well, not just any stadium.
Yeah.
The Raiders stadium, which, of course, Stephanie, didn't you say that the Chiefs have won more games in that stadium than the Raiders have?
I think that's something. I think that's a tweet that I saw.
That's a winner.
So
That's
who
a winner.
owns that rivalry?
Right. No,
I thought
it's
it was
good.
interesting they paraded out Joe Montana with his history, mainly with the Niners, but also with the Chiefs.
And he was definitely supporting the Niners. Well, Las Vegas, though, it has a huge Chiefs following. And I think I've shared this. I was out there for a previous playoff game, and they have some Chiefs bar way off the strip. We drove all the way out there, and more than 100 people. And they were giving away prizes, and they actually had T-shirts printed up that said Arrowhead West.
Did they?
And they were all in their gear. And so I'm not surprised to see a lot of support in Las Vegas for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it before, and it was just an incredible to see. I mean, I think I saw some shots of just the city and the strip and some of the facilities, and it was just I think it's going to turn out to be really a good thing for Las Vegas.
And while that city may, and of course Kansas City and Missouri and Eastern Kansas may love the Chiefs, there's increasing hate because they're successful. They talked with Mahomes about that, in the pregame show. And he says, well, I guess that goes with the territory. When you're having success, you become the GOAT, And isn't that funny in this country? I don't recall that it used to be that way. It was one thing to root for the underdog, but there's a lot of hate. Your calendars, there's some things coming up. February's a busy month, and even into March, just a lot going on. I know many of you, who doesn't know a child who has benefited from the great work that's done through the Miracle Network and the Kids Radiothon that this broadcast cluster sponsors every year. So we're going to be doing that on February 22nd through 23rd. You want to make sure and do that. That's Thursday and Friday, not this, but the next Thursday and Friday.
It's one of my favorite events, especially as a mom. And then, we've had so many Zimmer family members, too, who said, I've done the Radiothon for years and never thought I would need it. And I was so glad that we had it right here at Bidmo when we did.
And I've, over the years, you have moms that deliver babies that develop problems. Either you know about them before or they develop them after, and then you follow and you hear about them and the great work that's done here at the MU Healthcare Women and Children's Hospital. So a lot of sponsors for that. Big O Tires, A1 Containers, Brian Ware Plumbing will be involved in that. And, of course, this is the Missouri Credit Union Miracles for Kids Radiothon. That's Thursday and Friday, not this, but the following.
Mm-hmm.
And Boone County Lincoln Days will be on the 29th as well. That'll be lively. That'll be a spirited Lincoln Days, no doubt. And I'm going to be emceeing that. Looking forward to that. That'll be fun. It's at a different location this year.
Yeah, Midway Golf and Games Tavern Room. I'm excited about that. They've done a lot of work out there, so glad to see that event out there. And, being so close to the capital city, at some of the other, I would say, outstate Lincoln Days, you don't always get all the candidates, but we're really fortunate here. I know the Lincoln Days in Cole County is coming up as well. And at Boone County, you always see a lot of those people who are running attend in person, and it's nice to hear from them.
I think, was it last year when Tony Lupo had the soccer penalty card thing, when as the candidates were speaking, as they got to there, they would get a card, like the soccer ref throws it up.
I've been at Boone County Lincoln Days where it has gone quite late because everyone likes to talk, which is fair.
You can go to our 93.9 The Eagles Facebook page for the link to purchase tickets. So make sure that you stay on both the websites, 93.9 The Eagle and KWS, for all things going on in the news world and in events coming up as well. On the text line, we've had some interesting comments here. I had it. Where to go? There we go. We had one texter that was fascinating. Said that sent us a picture. State offices. Oh, that's right. State offices are closed. We forgot to announce that today. I wanted to get to that.
Yep.
If you are currently driving to your state job,
Yeah,
you
I was
need to
just
turn
thinking.
around and go home.
Everyone in the
Oh no, the state workers are well aware they have the day off. Trust me. Okay.
Yeah, but if you need a state service today, it may be a little bit different.
And
so
they've
they get this Monday off because today's Lincoln's birthday, and then next Monday is President's Day.
Yeah, next Monday, correct.
Really?
Yeah,
Both?
so they get 2 Mondays off in a row.
What is that all about?
And can we talk about how we need to move the Super Bowl? I saw a lot of tweets
Yes.
like that, and I agree wholeheartedly. It needs to be on Saturday, and it needs to be in the middle, like earlier.
Okay.
Or we need, or we need, we all need Monday off.
Why is this?
Because it was a late night for all of us who have to go to work really early on a Monday morning.
I'm running on about 3.5 hours of sleep.
I just think you could enjoy it more if it was on Saturday. Like you just
There's a little more apprehension as the game gets later. It's like, oh man, I don't know.
yeah.
Well, and I don't know if it's a serious statistic, but I've always heard that the Monday after the Super Bowl is the most called in sick day.
I believe it.
Yeah, not surprising there. So I guess what you're saying is not everyone was drinking mocktails. Probably not.
Certainly not.
We talked about that on Friday about the among younger folks, especially mocktails are really the surge. You go to the various bars and it's becoming a prominent item on the menu, on the drink menu.
I think it's really helpful. I like to see that.
I
Yeah,
do
no,
too.
you see it everywhere now.
Yeah. Had an interesting thing the other day about beer. Scott Faughn, our good friend who, of course, publishes Missouri Times and hosts This Week in Missouri Politics and joins us every Monday. I guess you're pretty jubilant, huh, Scott?
I am. I spent the evening watching the Chiefs win, and my daughter reminded me how Taylor Swift is actually a help to the Chiefs, not a curse.
We kept the receipts on that, Scott.
Yeah, no, I was very wrong about that. Her music is still a little odd. I mean, I wish she could keep a boyfriend. But I think maybe, I was thinking about this last night, all those songs about guys that have dumped her and how she burns them might have been motivation for Kelsey. I mean, he did have a great game. So maybe he turned it into a positive.
Yeah, it was something else.
Little healthy fear never hurt anyone.
Yeah. And it's great.
I can say that with conviction, yes.
Yeah, your overall thoughts on the game, the extracurriculars around the game, Scott, anything catch your fancy?
You know, I honestly was our household was captivated with waiting for Taylor Swift shots. So that's pretty much that was our entire enjoyment of it. Millie cried when they were down and almost cried at the end when they were winning. So I was pretty much on the same Swiftie roller coaster as everyone else last night with my daughter driving the train.
Did we ever get a final count of how many times? I lost count. I think I got up to like 8. How many times they showed Taylor Swift?
Well, according to our household, it was not enough. I don't know the final count, but we did not get enough shots of Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl, right, Millie? Yes, she says no, not enough.
Now, did you know who Ice Spice was before Millie told you?
I still don't know who that is. So, I know that if there would have been a feed on Taylor Swift watching the Super Bowl, our house would not have known what the score was.
Well, Scott, to jump in here and be the party pooper and quit talking about the Super Bowl, I watched your show over the weekend. You had Senator Mike Serpoy on, and you had Roy Blunt. But I know you talked to the senator about the concurrent majority, and I know that gets in the weeds for a lot of our wake-up listeners. But your take on it was, and he responded, that whole angle in the debate in the Senate may not pass muster.
Look, John Rizzo is tremendous, a tremendous minority leader. And I don't know this. It's not the kind of thing he just openly shares. But I have heard from lawyers that are pro-life, people that have been in the pro-life fight, not now that it's kind of become everything's about abortion, but when this fight was real, when this fight was serious, that are pro-life attorneys that have even litigated some of the cases on behalf of the pro-life Missourians. And they say a concurrent majority is unlikely to pass court muster. It's one man, one vote. It's unlikely to withstand a judicial challenge. I am not qualified to make that determination, but folks I know that I respect that are pulling for some form of IP reform in order to frankly keep abortion illegal. They said that this has little hope of passing court muster, and I think there's a lot of even your most ardent folks that want the most draconian IP reform they can get, they don't really argue with it. And let's be, John, you got to keep in mind, IP reform is not conservative. It's not liberal. It's if you're in the majority, you want to make it hard to amend the Constitution. If you're in the minority, you don't care. It's not a liberal conservative thing by any stretch. So we'll see. I mean, it is interesting to see how this comes out. If I was Rizzo, I'd let them do concurrent majority. I'd sit back and do two things. I'd see them want to put it on August. That would put the abortion IP on in November. I'd watch the courts strike it down, and I would pick up seats in the suburbs on the abortion issue in November. And I think that's what – I don't know that's what happens. You can't predict these things, but that is not I think you'd have to make a strong argument that it's less than – and also you have the realtors out there. They're going to nuke this thing if it gets to the ballot. I'm not sure that this isn't one of those things. The Republican majority is too big, and you don't have anybody calling the plays. And I think Rizzo may let them walk right into their own trap. He's that good.
Now, we've got a big event coming up this weekend, statewide Lincoln Days, and I know there are going to be a lot of people there, a lot of candidates running for the same offices in the same rooms. I know there's going to be a governor candidate forum. Any predictions for this weekend? Do you see fireworks? Do you see some people sitting out? What are you expecting?
I mean, a forum is essentially they get the same question There's not rebuttal. I think Bill Eigel will go on to that to make some news. And depending on who they have moderating it, if you can walk over them enough, you can. I'd say that'd be the only thing. I think Mike Keel will show up to answer your questions. I think Jay Ashcroft. I think Bill Eigel's under his collar a little bit, so that'd be interesting. I guess it won't be interesting to see Bill Eigel take to that mic and try to attack Jay Ashcroft. What it will be interesting to see is, does Jay take that bait? How does he respond to it? That kind of stuff. I have an announcement, though. I'm going to Disneyland this week, so I'm going to miss all the fun at Lincoln Day. But I tell you what, at the Cole County Lincoln Day, I am going to be the speaker a week from tonight. We're going to talk about good rural Missouri Republican values. It's going to be a good time. Congressman Luke DeMeyer will be there. It's going to be a big time. I think it'll be at the Capitol Plaza Monday night, or would be President's Day. Everybody that's at 5 p.m. If anybody that needs tickets can text 636-3562. But we're going to talk. I assume we'll have a good crowd. If we just have the folks that are thinking about running for Congress, that'll be 50 folks in attendance. But I tell you, it'll be good. We may talk about how we need a congressman that knows where Ashland is and is worried about the arch. Maybe we need a congressman that knows between a herbicide and a pesticide. I think we might. We need a guy. Maybe a congressman that's got a background in finance, a little background in government experience. Got a backbone. I wonder if Blaine Luke DeMeyer's ever thought about running for Congress. He'd be good.
Scott, we appreciate you joining us live. Do want to point out quickly that today is a state holiday for President Abraham Lincoln's birthday, one of the official 13 state holidays. It's not a federal holiday. It's a state one. The federal one
is Truman's? I thought Truman's birthday was in here somewhere.
Truman will be in May.
Oh, okay.
And despite that, the House and Senate are going to be in session today. So I wanted to point that out, even though it is a state holiday. So the House and Senate will be in session. I want to get your take, Scott, on an article that just was published this morning. Front page of the Missouri Independent. It's about Dean Plocher.
Oh, tell me what the Democrats said today.
Well, the reporter is saying that two legislators who called the reporter is saying two legislators who called for Plocher to resign from his position as Speaker were until last week the only Republicans without any of their bills referred to committee, and they're saying they're being punished. One of them is Mazzie Boyd Christensen. The other is Adam Schwadron. Your thoughts?
That's just not true. Doug Ritchie, ruthlessly attacked Dean Plocher. If you want to know why Dean Plocher has problems as Speaker, Doug Ritchie attacked him like no other, and he had his bills referred. A pretty controversial bill that'll make some money for some lobbyists. So that's just not real. Number two, that's what happens. It's the House. There are no rules. Welcome to politics. If you call for this, I guess in Doug Ritchie's case, Dean blinked. And if you want to know why Dean has problems, it's just weakness like that. If you went after Bob Griffin, what would happen? If you went after, look, if you're going to say these type of things, you know the consequences. These are adults. They knew when they did this what was going to happen. Now, look, maybe Dean Plocher is forced to resign, and John Patterson refers all their House bills, which if you've ever read a House bill, you could probably make the safe assumption that the state could soldier on without, all the House bills, let's be honest. So, but of course, if he's retaliating against them, that's what you do when you take on the Speaker. Duh.
Yeah. Scott Faughn joins us. Scott Faughn joins us on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Hey, I saw on your Twitter feed last week that the FRA bill still running into trouble. Prediction by Bill Eigel, it won't get through. Where are we on that? A lot of folks in our listening area depend on local hospitals, rural hospitals, and, of course, in all of outstate Missouri. There are almost 36 of them, critical access hospitals and independent non-critical access hospitals. Depend on that gathering all of the government, the federal funds that they can through a taxation, a self-taxation. Where's this going?
Look, you have 7 votes in opposition to whatever the Republicans do. The FRA should be. Look, I have a lot of patience for folks that are making political points. Right? I get it. There's political theater and stuff. And they're politicians, and when they want to move up, they want to be governor, they want to be Secretary of State, member of Congress, so they kind of do stunts. And I always kind of understood that. pretty much the entire Missouri House of Representatives is one big stunt. However, the FRA is really, really important. And it's one of those things where nobody listening will miss it until it's gone.
Yeah.
Until there's maybe the only hospital between St. Louis and Kansas City will be the Mizzou Hospital without the FRA. So you got some folks that see they know leadership and wants to get this done because it's important for the state. So their plan will be to hijack it. Yeah. And it's the same plan over and over we've seen. And again, it's just politics. But if the FRA doesn't pass, well, you blame leadership. If it does pass and it doesn't have some abortion language that might invalidate it, well, you blame leadership.
Yeah,
and it is what it is.
We should mention that the problem, the big hang-up that people are having is that allegedly, there would be some of this money because of Medicaid rules that would mandate that Medicaid providers get some of that payment through the Medicaid system, and that's what the FRA supports. That some of those would include Planned Parenthood. And while
Doug, I actually did some research on this myself. I spoke to OA myself. Do you know how many dollars? So this was an issue. The Probes Chair Lincoln Huff in the governor's office sit down, come up with some regs. Because if you put abortion language on the FRA, you could have it kicked out.
Right.
And these hospitals then close. And all the Facebook posts won't keep the hospital open. The hospitals in Jeff City probably close. And you can put on Facebook all you want. It won't really... They can't, Cap Region can't really take that to the bank and deposit it. But I actually made some phone calls. Do you know how many dollars were spent of Medicaid with Planned Parenthood last year? Do you know? Guess how many dollars?
I don't know.
Like a wild guess. $1 million, $1 $50. The answer is $0.
Yeah, I didn't think
$0 were spent on Planned Parenthood last year.
And why is that? Is that because of regulations or something written in the code?
Because the Probes Chair and Mike Parsons used big government, liberal, draconian rules to bully this company out of getting state resources. That's just the truth. They regulated them out of any state resources. Whether you think that's good or bad, they used a very liberal tactic of over-regulation to kick this company out. Now, it was successful in what they were trying to do it, and they did it. The problem is you've got certain groups that need something to fundraise on, need something to complain about, and you've got politicians that want those groups' endorsement. So I thought Susan Klein, the head of Right to Life, had a good point when she said, why don't we put in a rule that says if the federal government rejects this, it automatically goes away, and we just try it. Well, trying things, I'm from the Show Me State, but, it's almost the argument you hear from other folks is it's too important to mess with. It's just too important to monkey with. Go monkey with something else. Yeah. And look, it's not hard to get an abortion bill through the Missouri House of Representatives and the Missouri Senate.
You're right. I think it's become a political cudgel in the hands of some. And the reality is
they're going to pass this bill. They're going to pass it.
I hope so.
It's going to pass.
It goes through. Do you think they passed it? I mean, last time they did this, they had to go to special session and rule the amendment out of order. The Senate stopped on Wednesday night because the Democrats began offering amendments. And, well, what about a 12-year-old? If they're impregnated.
All right,
and
Scott.
It just got in.
find a Taylor Swift related story to give the Wake Up fam a little bit of a reprieve this morning. And I landed on a different TikTok trend, which I know, Randy, that you love.
I do. It's my fave.
It's called swamp soup.
Is that like stone soup?
Kind of, sort of. It's being promoted as like a immunity booster. Of course, it's that time of year where everyone has the sniffles.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the weather recently warmed up, all the fun things. And the swamp soup is fluorescent green. It is not... It does not look very good. It's otherwise known as green garlic and ginger chicken and rice soup.
Green garlic. Do that again. Green garlic, chicken, and rice?
So green garlic and ginger chicken.
Ginger chicken,
and rice soup.
That sounds good.
Sounds like that could do it. I mean, garlic's certainly good for your immune system. It's antibacterial as well.
The recipe has over 2 million views on TikTok.
But it just doesn't look appealing, huh?
No. It is like Shrek green. It is, no, not good. But
do you even cook it?
Well, I mean, it has
one
chicken
of
in
those
it.
cold kind of raw thing?
Oh, like gazpacho.
Yeah.
Well, and TikTok has even gone so far as to figure out what wine to pair it with.
Whoa.
You know, in the sake of being healthy.
Yeah.
But I've also heard when you're sick and maybe you're congested, one of the best things you can do, I've never been brave enough to try it, is to just like munch on raw garlic. Randy, have you ever heard of that? Like eating raw garlic?
Well, I have to admit, I will munch on a olive stuffed with raw garlic now and then.
I love
those. You like those? Yeah, it's good. Yeah. We eat a lot of garlic at home. Lots.
Yeah, I was wondering if the Wake Up fam has anything weird that they might do during, cold and flu season.
I thought maybe swamp soup was that nickel bean soup down in the Senate cafeteria. Wasn't it 50 cents or a nickel? What does it cost?
I don't know.
The old navy bean soup
Yeah,
that
the navy bean
U.S. Congress munches on.
Yeah, real cheap. Yeah.
So yeah, there you have it, folks.
Swamp soup.
Swamp soup, it's what's trending.
Is there a recipe there? I mean, is the full recipe there?
It's in the TikTok video.
I have to watch a TikTok. They can't just print it out? You can't print it out for me? Okay, send it to me. Maybe Helene we were in suspense, and I was spent at the end of that game. I don't know about you, Stephanie. Were you just like worn out?
I was like covering my face. I was the emoji that was like peaking. My like blood pressure was, I'm still like coming down off of the high.
We were wondering how you were going to handle this, after the travel from London, and like, oh my gosh, is she going to have the energy to be up for this? But you were on top of it, right?
I thought I was going to get a nap yesterday. I did not, and so but the game was just so exciting. I'm still.
All right.
McKinnon is in at running back. First down and goal to go. Play action fake. Right
there
side
it is.
throw.
There it is.
Kansas City. McCole Hardman with the catch on the right side. A 3-yard touchdown pass in overtime. Kansas City wins the game. 25-22.
And John Marsh, did you have a feeling of inevitability as they made that last drive? I mean, I rarely feel like that, but I really did feel like it's just going to happen. How about you?
When Mahomes started turning it on in the second half, where he was running for yardage and running for first downs, it sort of seemed like the handwriting was back on the wall because the Chiefs in the fourth quarter.
But then you see all the people on Twitter who are like, it's scripted like that. And I totally disagree with that. They're like, the NFL's the new WWE or whatever. Oh. But I will say, like, I noticed that change too. But I'm like, where was this earlier in the game? It's like they like wait. And it's, I'm like, we could be ahead by so much if we played like
You read my mind there. I wonder, so you put together the fact that they were very conservative in the first half. Okay. Yeah. And not really accomplishing much. Yeah, they made a couple mistakes, too many penalties.
But there was just enough here and there to keep the score, like the deflected kick. I mean, it was like...
And you didn't see Kelsey. No. It's almost... And Kelsey, of course, bumped into Andy Reid. We talked about that earlier. I mean, I guess you can excuse it away as a young man who's passion gets the better of him. But I don't know. I think from just a team discipline standpoint, I don't know. There might be something that happens there. But you wonder if Reid knew exactly what he was doing to lull the 49ers into some false sense of security and then turn it on.
I don't know.
You think that's part of the strategy, John?
Oh, for sure. Andy Reid. Oh, yeah. He always has something up his sleeve.
Well, in all three recent Super Bowl wins, the Chiefs have, overcame a 10-point behind.
Yep.
Yeah. That's crazy to, overcome a 10-point deficit 3 times to win a Super Bowl?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. But, even if you were a 49ers fan, or you're not a football fan, you had to enjoy the commercials. I mean, I got a kick out of the Perry Como commercial, the Lindor, round and round and round. I thought it was really well done. It was just well produced. What was the candy commercial you got all worked up over? What was that?
Oh, man. The Nerds. I meant to bring some in today. The Nerds gummy clusters, which we have taste tested here on the show before. And they had their very own Super Bowl commercial. And their story is insane because they've 5x their revenue in 5 years solely because of these Nerd gummy and they're really good. I'm going to be honest.
And I will say that the commercial was a little disturbing if you think about it.
It was weird.
What do you mean?
Well, so it was animated.
Yeah.
And the little nerds, characters there were tons of them walking around with eyeballs, whatever. And then they cut to a character that's just like a big red blob. And there are...
Shaking it.
Yes, and there are lots of the smaller nerd candy characters falling from the ceiling and covering the glob in their body.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, it was cute, but I sat there and I'm like, that's a little weird.
Now, being a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup fan, I got a kick out of the caramel Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. And
my mother-in-law was like, absolutely not gross.
Like a limited edition, and are they going to run out of them? And they're smashing their head into the wall. And I just thought it was pretty dramatic. It was cool.
I love a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. But, there are some things you just shouldn't mess with a classic. No. And so I kind of agree. Give me all of the shapes for the holidays. Okay. Love those. But, they did, are they still doing, a white chocolate Reese's Peanut Butter Cup? Just
those are good. And, the dark chocolate ones are good,
then
too.
They do the one that's peanut butter with a peanut butter shell and all that on them.
Now, Helene gave me some in the freezer. We still have leftover Halloween candy. I don't know why, but that's our little treat every night. I get one little mini thing if I want. That's my little snack.
Just one?
One little mini snack. And I'm like, it's not even worth it, honey. Don't even bother about it. But she gave me a Reese's thing that I would swear have a cracker. It had a little.
There's a crunchy
one. Pretzel or something.
Yeah, it's got a Reese's Puff in it.
Oh, that didn't cut it. I don't know.
Then they've got one with pretzels in it.
Yeah, it was a pretzel one. That didn't make it for
Doesn't
me.
the pretzel one also have potato chips in it?
I don't know. It just didn't cut the mustard for me. I don't know. Jim has a comment about the game. 573-874-9390. Jim, what's on your mind?
So, here's my theory on why they're so slow to get going is when you're playing a team that has a really strong defense, they're fresh. And defense is always reacting to every move that an offensive guy is making. And if you're fresh, you can do it. But by the second half, defense can get a little slower. And that's, I think, when usually the Chiefs start taking off, But it was an amazing game. I'm exhausted.
I wonder if
I was thinking I had to take an extra blood pressure pill.
I thought clearly that, thanks a lot for the call. I thought it was pretty clear that when in terms of energy and just getting at it, I mean, the 49ers were taking it to them in the trenches and everywhere else. But I think that they may have just run out of steam because the adrenaline was too much too soon.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't talked about that, but they had some serious. I mean, they had an Achilles injury, and then they had,
which I felt so bad for that guy because he was running onto the field.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, he was on the sidelines and just went to take the field, and he tripped. It looked like and
in
just
between
hit
plays,
the ground, which I shouldn't laugh, but it's just kind of embarrassing, I guess, in the Super Bowl. Yeah. Like, how'd you get injured? Oh, well, I was taking the field.
And this is where I heard about this coin flip decision, but somebody on the NFL tweeted out, they said Patrick Mahomes played in a Super Bowl where the other team's best defensive player tore his Achilles running onto the field. Their kicker had an extra point blocked for the first time in his career. A punt went off the opponent's foot for a turnover, and Shanahan somehow botched the overtime coin flip decision. They said this is Brady and his voodoo devil magic all over again.
Yeah.
But there were some really bizarro things that happened in the game. And then, and even our kickers, that was a record for our kicker, right?
Amazing. They set two. First, Moody set a Super Bowl record for a field goal, and then
350-yarder plus field goals in
can
one
you imagine?
game.
That's become. And you know what else is becoming boring though? Is the kickoffs. No one ever returns a kickoff anymore. They all go out of the end of the end zone. That's touchback. I don't know. I think they'd change the rule. Have them kick from 20 yards. I don't know. I want to see. I want to see run kickback returns. Kickoff returns. Okay, John, there's an interesting story I read this morning that you're covering in Jefferson City and in statewide. Attorney General Bailey has filed criminal charges accusing a county coroner of stealing what? What's going on?
Stealing what?
Andrew Bailey accused a county coroner down in Cape Girardeau County of stealing cash from a dead person and then misstating the causes of death, presumably after doing the posts for several people. Judge has temporarily removed him from office. He's Wavis Jordan, facing 3 counts, felonies, providing false information to vital records, and a misdemeanor count of stealing.
Wow. That's
just what we know about that one.
How that's almost like, pump that up on some big city deal where someone has, a major theft off of a dead body. That's almost CSI kind of stuff. Can you imagine?
That's awful.
You're a coroner, and now
we've heard some of the national stories about that involves people on the emergency medical side of things. EMTs and paramedics.
I don't know.
When he was elected as a Republican, they had a picture of this guy's wallet that had cash on it, and later the wallet turns up and the cash is gone.
Wow. Holy cow. I just can't imagine that.
It's grim, isn't it?
Another question I have is why would that just be a misdemeanor?
Would it have something to do with the amount?
I think that's right.
Probably under 150 or something.
But I think he is charged with felony counts.
Yeah, felony counts, false information to vital records, 3 felony counts of that.
Yeah. Why is any amount of stealing acceptable?
Good question.
What are we, San Francisco here?
Good point.
Whether it's 150 or 250, it's stealing. I mean, it's willful stealing. It ought to be. Okay.
From someone who holds public trust, too.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I mean, I think any amount should be, I don't know if you can have differential for different office holders, or maybe in statutory they could do that. I guess it's too late to file that bill, huh, John?
Never say never, except maybe this year.
And then you had another. We'll talk about it later, but there's another interesting story about it. This is not the first time, but apparently another release or a plea for a release to vacate a conviction of a guy that was in prison for a while. So we'll talk about that as well.
Yep.
So what's coming up on your stories of the weird, unusual, and hard to believe?
Well, in deference to producer Hannah, we heard about the prop bets, coin toss, and what aircraft will fly over, and the color of, I don't know, Mahomes boxers or something. Well, it turns out the sports books love prop bets for Super Bowl 58. One that got a lot of people playing was, which Swift song would Tony Romo make his first reference to? Inside track was Bad Blood. Who will Taylor be sitting immediately next to? Jason Kelce, Donna Kelce, Brittany Mahomes, Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds. That one got a lot of votes. How many times would the broadcast show Swift? The over and under was 5.5 on that one. One of the easy ones was, will Swift and Kelce be shown kissing on the field? With the second question being, well, will the Chiefs win? Will she high-five someone in the box? Yeah, probably. And finally, will Taylor be seen mouthing curse words when they put the tight camera shot on her? You might remember back in that Week 15 game against the Pats, she appeared to mouth the F word after Patriots cornerback Miles Bryant kind of took a cheap shot at Kelce in the end zone. So now you don't know the rest of that story.
I just get a big kick out of Kelce. I mean, this guy is actually, he is so unhinged.
Viva Las Vegas! Viva Las Vegas! Viva! Viva Las Vegas! Viva!
But he's like unhinged, but also like his older brother is like a wild card too. I mean, Jason Kelce, he showed up to Vegas dressed like the guy from Hangover, which I think is a real thing. It was all over Twitter, from the movie The Hangover.
Yeah. With all the glitter. Yeah.
No, that was Travis who had all the glitter.
Oh, you mean Jason?
Had,
Jason, yeah.
Jason had the wolf pack shirt
That's
and the
right.
man bag
Yes.
on.
He was like the Zach Galifianakis character.
Right.
And then he wore these crazy overalls yesterday to the game. And then there was a picture of him with like a wrestler's mask on with the overalls in the club, just like having a blast. So, I mean, it's kind of like it's in their blood. I mean, they're just like fun people.
One of the first things that Travis said to his brother when they, were reunited on field in the, crowd of people, you can hear Travis say, "Did you keep your shirt on this time?"
That's so fun.
He's got, Jason has 2 or 3 kids. Is that right? Does he have children?
He's got 3 and 1 in the oven.
Yeah, that's great.
I think that was a rumor. I think it's just the 3 girls.
Okay.
I thought.
Did you guys like the Dunkin' Donuts spot? I kind of liked that.
Yeah, that was
so
great.
Ben Affleck and Tom Brady and J-Lo and all.
I liked J-Lo going, "Ben, we talked about this."
Yeah.
I thought the Beyonce thing was great. The Beyonce Verizon commercial, well produced.
We even saw Judge Judy on one of them.
Judge Beauty. Yeah.
I also liked the Oreo commercial where they twisted on it instead of like flipping a coin or whatever. Let's twist on it.
Yeah, it was sort of
had
neat.
like Kris Jenner was in it about, pretending that they decided to launch the Kardashians TV show by twisting on it.
Can you imagine? What I didn't ever get the number on what it cost for a commercial this year. Every year it seems to just be more astronomical.
Millions. Yeah.
But aside from that, some of these had how many stars in there? How much must that cost them in the production to pay those stars, for crying out loud? It's unbelievable what a commercial must cost. All told, everything put together. And you wonder how you get ROI on that. I mean, that's how much profit margin there is in Nerds.
Oh, we're forgetting about the Doritos. I'm gonna say it wrong. Dynamita.
I don't know.
It was the 2, Hispanic grandmas who kicked butt to get the chips back, right?
Yeah, they come down the glide line and they kick the guy. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, but it must have a good ROI because the other big story, I think, and I didn't know until recently, they started really publicizing the fact that Usher gets paid $0 for doing the show. And that the whole thing is it's a commercial for you.
I see. Yeah.
And so the Super Bowl pays $0 for Usher and friends to come out. And the same was true last year with Rihanna. So
$7 million for a 30-second commercial.
$7 million
last night.
Wow.
Yep.
And it has to cost several $100,000 to produce one of those, or maybe more. It might cost $1 million to do that. I don't know. But, I mean, that's a big spend, but I guess, must be return on it.
We got a text from listener Casey at 874-9390. Says, "Hey, Randy, you're finally talking about the Super Bowl more than roll carts. Hallelujah."
Sandy asks, what about the Bud Light first commercial? Was that the one with Manning?
I don't know.
Or was that were there more than one? Maybe I missed a Bud Light commercial.
Well, there was the Budweiser Clydesdales,
That
and
one,
then
yeah.
the Bud Light Genie, where he granted their wishes.
Oh, that's
like
right.
Posty was in it.
That's right.
Yeah.
But you think, I mean, and then you know.
It was good.
But I think we're also seeing like the interplay between regular traditional advertisements and then influencer marketing here.
Yeah.
And I noticed, so Taylor Swift's kind of got her red lipstick, iconic red lipstick, and people have said it's this Pat McGrath certain color. And I guess after the kiss with Travis Kelce, they took the picture and put it out on their socials and said, "Need kiss-proof red lipstick? Here you go." And so, I mean, they paid zero. You know, they
Stephanie Bell back from London.
I am.
How are the teeth over there? Everything okay?
They have bad teeth. We talked about this.
Socialized medicine.
And John Marsh with that. I still can't get over that story of the coroner that we talked to. The coroner that stole the dead person's money, or allegedly. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Stephanie, should I share with the Wake Up fam what I texted you about while you were over there?
Sure.
So we were giving Stephanie grief the last time she went to London because the Queen passed away. Was it while you were there or right before you left to go there?
That was 2 times ago. And yes, I was sitting in a court case in court in Cole County, and I get a notice on my phone from American Airlines, and it says, check in for your flight for London. And I screenshotted it. 3 minutes later, the Queen's died.
No.
And I was like,
And of course, this time when Stephanie goes to London, King Charles, it's announced that he has cancer. And Toby Keith died while she was over there.
It's not great. And I did all of my investigative journalism and talked to all of my British friends trying to get the lowdown on what was going on. I think they feel like it is very serious for the king. It can't be good. And they were, of course, talking about Harry being over there and visiting the king, but not visiting William. And of course, there's a lot of gossip and rumors surrounding, why Kate is incommunicado. No one really definitively had any good answers, but yeah, it's an interesting time.
Which, Stephanie, I'm glad that you said that this morning because Randy, Mr. Randall Tobler over there, was making fun of me off air last week.
What do you mean making fun of you?
Because I told him I saw a video of someone saying that for the palace to make an announcement about Charles' cancer diagnosis and for Harry to fly to go see his dad, that basically Charles was probably on death's doorstep because the palace doesn't typically make those announcements unless it's bad.
Well, and they just said that's really, something they've seen a shift over time in that, under the Queen and previously, you wouldn't have seen any you wouldn't have heard anything. It would be like a Lloyd Austin situation, number one, until something really bad had happened. But they said actually, that's been kind of a leadership shift in that they've been trying to be more transparent about everything, and that they really appreciated that.
Well, when you have a media that is so gotcha-oriented, I mean, they'll make everything is a cover-up. Discrete personal information that isn't shared with the whole world immediately is somehow some kind of a crime these days, according to the media.
Well, the Brits invented the tabloid press.
Yeah. And
look at Austin that's been hospitalized.
Right. And I'm wondering, because remember, Austin he definitely screwed up, right?
Initially,
when he went in for the prostate surgery and was then, that should have been much differently handled. So maybe that had an influence on them. I don't know. Now, over the weekend, the king did issue a brief letter that basically said, hey, this highlights, I appreciate all of the outreach and this and that, the cards and letters. And it just brings home how important this problem is when other people have it. And I thank you for all that. And I hope that you support your friends that have it. So it was good to see. But he didn't give any details out. No one knows yet.
Well, and the other thing about, talking to folks from all over is they were very much up on the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift thing. It's not just, it's easy to get kind of in our bubble and be like, well, we care about it in Missouri. Nope, everybody cares. Everyone's very excited. So that was fun.
So we have there's a guy who likes to sort of poke our bear, and that's good, Randy. I'm glad that you're keeping us honest. That's good. I'm glad Randy's listening.
Man, Randy getting called out by Randy.
Oh man. A few months ago, Randy Tobler made fun of what he called the loser Chiefs. Can we all get an Aaron apology? At the time, they were not. What I said was they were playing like losers. They weren't playing like champs. They did not look like a championship team. That was a statement of fact. That's all. Statement of fact.
They had a rough go there for a bit.
Yeah, they did. And I turned it on when they hit the playoffs.
And I think it's speculation, but it happens to everyone that has enormous success. I don't know anyone who doesn't have enormous success who doesn't then take a little fall because swagger gets in the way. That's just human nature. You know?
And I think it took them a bit to get their confidence back. And we saw that, and it made me nervous last night when we had that early on fumble.
I know.
And it's like you can't have a crisis of confidence, and you could just see the defeat in their faces. And it's like we can't. But there for a minute in the season, it felt like our whole team we lost our confidence, but we got it back.
Yeah, I think that Pachenko is not known as a fumbler. I mean, I don't remember. He's got pretty good hands, I think, generally. I from what I can remember.
I love the videos of Pacheco running, and it's kind of become a thing this season. People have been saying that he runs like he bites people. Just like the way he runs when he's, wide open, sprinting for the end zone. He has kind of an interesting form. And it's very aggressive. And the phrase that he runs as if he bit someone is just funny.
Channeling Mike Tyson.
He's not even 6 feet tall,
Yeah, he's a little guy.
Yep.
But he's super popular. I mean, my son has now requested a jersey of his. He's like, that's the jersey I want. I'm like, okay.
And
nobody can cannonball up the middle like Pacheco.
And Pacheco shows that extra effort sometimes. You think he's down, and he pops up, and there he is. Maybe that's just because of his size. He's able to somehow squeeze between those.
Or because he bit someone.
Big guys could be, yeah. I thought that coming down for that last drive, that little extra effort that Kelsey did on that last catch he made was very important. I mean, the guy really, I thought it was great to see him come to the fore.
When they didn't give us the first down?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You mean that one?
But it was still great. I mean, it was just, he made that extra effort. It's great to see that. So Jim says, seems like some of the commercials were for CBS. Couldn't they sell all the time? Oh, a lot of it was because Premier Week. So isn't Premier Week normally in the fall, or are there 2 Premier Weeks? I wonder if because of the writer's strike it was delayed. I'm not sure. I don't know. But there's a lot of exciting movies that were premiered. I was marking my calendar.
Oh,
really?
the Wicked trailer was so good.
Wasn't that great?
Yes.
I love that stage play. So I don't know how authentic or how much fidelity there will be to the screenplay.
Well, and the fact that Ariana Grande is in it, that's huge.
She can sing like nobody else.
She can.
She's talented, no doubt. Guess what?
What?
Chicken butt.
Guess what? My jaw dropped when I saw and heard this from the White House, Miss Hannah.
Oh, no.
Chiefs or Niners?
2 great quarterbacks. Hard to decide. But if I didn't say I was for the Eagles, then I'd be sleeping alone. My wife's a Philly girl.
Game or commercials?
Game.
Game or halftime show?
Game.
Jason Kelsey or Travis Kelsey?
Mama Kelsey. I understand she makes great chocolate chip cookies.
Deviously plotting to rig the season so the Chiefs would make the Super Bowl, or the Chiefs just being a good football team?
You'd get in trouble if I told you.
Trump or Biden?
Are you kidding? Biden.
What is that little tag at the
You
end?
just played a TikTok.
I know.
That's a TikTok.
The Biden-Harris campaign has enrolled in TikTok, and that was a little thing they released before the game. Biden HQ at Biden HQ. So for those of you that want to follow, Randy, you may want to check onto that. Make sure you follow that,
especially if you're an Eagles fan.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, was that from last year's Super Bowl or no?
No, this is just now. And I thought that you would be all over this, Miss TikTok.
Oh no, I'm excited that you finally downloaded the app.
I didn't download. I have not downloaded the app. I will not download the app.
But Trump weighed in on the Taylor Travis thing too on Truth Social and said he likes Travis, but wasn't very friendly to Taylor, which understandable, I guess.
Yeah, and so no, isn't Joe Biden the guy that forbid all government phones from having TikTok apps?
Yes.
Well, isn't this hypocritical?
He needs the young people vote.
Well, this isn't his phone.
Well, here's the thing. I also think that TikTok should probably not be on government devices.
Yes.
But I'm still very much for TikTok. I think you can be both.
44,000 followers already.
That's not very much.
450,000 likes. That's not a lot?
No.
Not considering who is running the account.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe it has to be it can't be a government phone, I hope. It has to be someone's
burner phone.
The burner? Think so? I don't know. We have other breaking news that broke on the Talking Head show on Meet the Depressed yesterday.
No doubt there is gridlock on Congress, but do you bear responsibility for what is happening at the border, what the president himself has called a crisis?
It certainly is a crisis.
Did I hear it?
You heard the C word.
And, well, we don't bear responsibility for a broken system, and we're doing a tremendous amount within that broken system. But fundamentally, Congress is the only one who can fix it.
No doubt.
Well, hang on, though. Wait a minute. Wasn't there a guy named Trump that didn't need Congress to fix anything, and it was pretty much fixed?
Yep.
Why are the American people going to buy this in this
Finger
election?
pointing.
I
Yeah.
mean,
I sure hope not.
it just doesn't make sense to me. They may make a second round on impeachment attempts on Mayorkas. I know there's been some discussion around that. They're going to have to muster more people to be on the floor, though, and make a vote.
They are.
Yeah. Scalise has blood cancer. He's been out a lot. Man, this guy has suffered mightily since that shooting when he almost died on that field. And
it's sad.
In what was reported in terms of the damage that was done with that bullet, it went all through his pelvis and got into his bowel, and the guy was a mess.
Well, and with all the speaker discussions, he was kind of in the mix there for a bit, and I had kind of hoped he would step up, but obviously he's facing some significant health challenges.
I think it was, I don't know. You couldn't, if you were a House member, Stephanie.
Never, but okay.
But let's say you were, just theoretically. And let's say that you were in the leadership circles, because that's the kind of person you are. You're a leadership person. And would you even want that job? Who in the heck would want that job, especially in these circumstances?
No. Yeah, I wouldn't. It'd be hard.
Yeah. John, it used to be a job that everyone aspired to. Of course, I guess politicians have they just have a different constitution when they get up. It's all about ego and ascension and higher office. But I mean,
for the vast majority of them, it's kind of self-aggrandizement as some of the ones, I mean, we wouldn't say our local ones here, but we've seen our share of them even in Missouri over the years.
Did I offend any of the assembled judges at the chili cook-off when I walked up and said, hey, where's the representative of the Missouri Freedom Caucus?
I liked it.
How was
Senator Bernstetter got a chuckle out of it.
Yeah, he giggled.
How was that chili cook-off?
It was great, man.
John saved me from being a judge for the chili cook-off.
Yeah, but we just got truthful with them, didn't we, when they asked you to judge?
They kept asking me, and I was trying to find polite ways to say no thank you. And I had shared with John earlier in the morning that I don't like chili.
And wasn't it
you don't like chili?
Not really, no.
And so she got a pass.
So they kept asking me, and finally John goes, she doesn't like chili. And I was like, thank you.
I did judging once. Have you judged a food competition, Randy?
Yeah, up at an Iowa casino once when Helene was teaching at a culinary there.
What did you have to eat?
You know what the winning dish was? It was amazing. It was amazing. The entree was a rib, like a spare rib kind of thing. So it was sort of a barbecue, nice glaze on there. And what really won the day, though, was a blue cheese mousse, cheese mousse with caramel corn next to it. I'm telling you, that pungent and sweet, it won the day along with the barbecue. It was unbelievable.
I've had cheese paired with popcorn before.
Oh, man. Stephanie is going to cover that this morning. What's up?
Well, the markets are just barely in the red this morning, but we have a big week coming up. We are expecting an inflation report tomorrow. Obviously, investors have been hoping for a Fed rate cut. The Fed kind of hinted last time that maybe they would just hold steady for a bit, but obviously all eyes are on that report coming out tomorrow. And then also we have a huge earnings week, so we've heard from a lot of big tech companies in the recent weeks, but this week we're going to hear from Shopify, Coca-Cola, Airbnb, Coinbase, Crocs. So another big week. And then we are also, and I know we've got some people who are like, let's not talk about Taylor Swift. So we're just going to cram it all in today. And tomorrow we'll be on something else. Right. But there was some big Taylor Swift news over the weekend, besides the fact that she made it from Tokyo to Vegas for the Super Bowl. And that is that she sold her Eras Tour concert film. Did you ever go to the theater and watch her Eras Tour?
I think you can get it on Netflix or Prime or something now.
She just sold it to Disney Plus for more than $75 million. She outbid Disney outbid Universal and Netflix for the rights to this film. And actually, if you've already seen the film, if you went to the theater, there are extras in this new film that will be streaming on Disney Plus, I think starting in March.
Did you say $75 million?
$75 million.
That's after it grossed $260 million in the box office.
Whoa.
She's a business lady if she is nothing else and just a machine. So the new expanded version of the Eras Tour will debut on March 15th on Disney Plus. It's going to have a cardigan from the album Folklore, plus 4 acoustic songs, and those were not in the theater production of the movie. Now, and if you recall, she set the pricing for the box office. It was rather expensive. I think the price was a special Taylor Swift number. Hannah, remind me. It was like $19.99 or 1989.
1989,
That's right.
I think. Yeah.
1989. So it was like $100 for 5 people to go, which was, I think most movies are slightly under that price, like 15-ish. But
so I get some Disney Plus with my Verizon account. Does that mean I'll be able to watch this for free at some point?
Ooh, maybe.
Should be able to.
I want to know what the length of this film is, because in the theater it was it was like 3 hours. It was the full, but it was cut up. But now it's going to be 5 more songs.
Wow. How long was it?
It was 3 hours ish, or 2 plus.
Maybe I know the concert was around 3 hours, so it checks out.
Yeah.
So that's a lot. But she is making money and doesn't need it, but also I mean,
my father-in-law had a funny last night.
Oh, yeah?
He said, how weird to think that Travis Kelce is like the broke boyfriend in their relationship.
Yeah, he's the bum in that thing.
For sure.
He darn well better open the door for her.
All right.
at mega church celebrity pastors, old Joel Osteen's Lakewood Church down in Houston, a woman came in with a 5-year-old at her side.
With a child.
And started opening fire with a long gun, not otherwise specified. And a couple of off-duty police officers, I imagine they were security staff.
Yeah.
This was right before yesterday afternoon's Hispanic service there, Spanish language service. And they took her out. But in the crossfire, a little 5-year-old, I don't think it's the same one, but a little 5-year-old is in critical condition as a result. And a 57-year-old man was injured in a stable condition. But isn't that funny how these stories are almost becoming, okay, there's other stuff to talk about. You didn't hear much about it yesterday.
You really didn't. And
Sad.
that's a lot. And and it's just a weird circumstance. I don't think we know like the motive yet, right? I haven't heard.
Yeah, I don't. You're right. No, I haven't. And this is the last update I saw was ABC just a couple of just 20, 30 minutes ago. But I don't know when it came upon my psyche intermittently, but don't you, in various settings these days, various public settings, doesn't it just flash across your mind once in a while like, well, what if someone came in here shooting? What would I do? I mean, I used to never, 10 years ago, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
5 years ago, maybe. But it seems like 2 or 3 years, that's just been more on my mind. I don't know.
Yeah, it crosses my mind when I'm in large crowds. So like movie theaters, even sometimes in the airport, concerts, certainly. I was even at a big festival concert and they were flashing up on the screen, here's what to do in case of, they didn't say shoot in case of an emergency, get down, and it was like, but having it be that in your face was, and they had pretty high security at that concert. And then of course I was, watching Twitter yesterday with the Super Bowl and they were talking about the number of security on the ground and in cars driving around and that the federal agents were there and like just hell,
those are the ones you could identify. I bet you a lot of plainclothes guys.
And so I thought, and people were kind of speculating, has there been a threat because the security presence yesterday was so high? And so I was thinking about it as that event unfolded yesterday as well.
And there is a perception, that we haven't had any, certainly not of that magnitude, but, Mid-Missouri has had at least one, John and I both covered it, a mass shooting that was horrific that happened in 2003. And it was when a disgruntled employee went into the Modine factory in Jefferson City and shot and killed a number, as I recall, it was 3 or 4. He ended up trying to get into the police station with a gun. And an officer happened to see him and had to discharge his weapon. But and the suspect was killed. It's a huge.
There was another one, Brian. You might remember the one of at a Christmas party for one of the hospital organizations, the Capitol Plaza Hotel in Jefferson City.
Yes,
and a guy who was involved in a long, extended car chase with officers pulled in there and went inside with a gun.
Yeah, he had killed 2 people in southeast Missouri in Salem. He was a former corrections officer. Now he's a prisoner. John's absolutely right. He about a 150-mile chase somehow, even with the basically his tires were punctured, but he literally jumped out of his car, ran into the car, crashed. He ran into the Capitol Plaza Hotel. They had a gunfight in there with the police. He did. Feet away was JCMG's Christmas party. That was back, I want to say, in 2011.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And the suspect was wounded but not killed. And he finally, that case just it kept overturned, and there was issues with the jury. Finally, his name's Marvin Rice, that guy. So that was terrible. We have had some instances like that, but anybody who was at that Christmas party will know what we're talking about. It was, basically their Christmas party had to end. I mean,
and they had some off-duty police officers or deputies, I think, who were working security. Thank goodness.
Yeah, exactly. And they've Lord knows how many lives were saved. Had he turned to the right instead of turning to the left, as we later now know from the police, it could have been much worse. But he went to the left. He didn't know where he was, and he ended up being trapped because the police were in there. But he had gone to the right and gone into the ballroom. There were hundreds of people in there.
That's just amazing. And, I think it brings to mind the fact that somehow we're not getting it right in the way we do mental health services in this country. I think we actually got it more right decades ago when I think we recognized problems earlier and addressed them. I don't think there was as much low-level mental health problem that sort of rises to the top. I don't think there was as much sensationalization of this kind of stuff, which may motivate especially some of the lone wolves. Now, that guy was clearly desperate and cornered animal,
Well, he had also, keep in mind, according to the court documents, he was convicted. He had also killed his either ex-girlfriend or ex-wife and her new husband or new lover. This was not and he was on the run from that. But he happened to get all the way from Southeast Missouri to Jefferson City. And we now know he was also trying to get into the Truman building, or Truman VA, that night. He never would have made it. But I mean, the point is that I don't know if he had mental issues or not, or was just evil. We'll never know. But your point, Randy, is very well taken. But I will challenge you a little bit on that in terms of sensationalism. You have to report that. I mean, that was
no. I was talking social media.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Things get sensationalized. I mean, I think there is the fact that, some news outlets have stopped using people's names.
Like the Daily Wire. I think that's. I hope more people adopt that practice.
Yeah. What is your policy on that?
I'm torn. I think people need to know who it is. I think people need to know who it is. If the guy's got or woman has a criminal record, in this case, he was a corrections officer, had a good job at a prison. We need to know, I respect your opinion on this, Stephanie. I really do. I don't know that I agree. Maybe case by case. In his case, Marvin Rice's name, absolutely, because they were seeking the death penalty, by the way, against him, and he kept going on trial about 3 different times. The guy, now that where Stephanie brings up a point, is John will remember this. There was a genuine debate about the Modine shooter. And Warren Kretsch and I Warren and I respected each other, and I ended up using the suspect's name because he had worked there. But there were family members of that felt like family members very mad, as you can imagine, at this guy that did the suspect, was the suspect. And they didn't want his name used. And the News Tribune took criticism because they published a funeral notice for the guy.
Yeah, he killed like 3 or 4 people, didn't he?
It was at least 3, and then he ended up being shot to death out in front of the police station. So that particular one was a tough one. But I think in some cases you have to report their names.
In other stories we're following, Lloyd Austin, Defense Secretary, is in critical care. He's in critical condition, apparently. He's in the ICU.
Wow.
Was taken to the hospital with a, quote, bladder condition. Now, we're now, a month out or more from his prostate cancer surgery.
Yeah, he underwent the procedure December 22nd.
Yeah. And, we're 2 months out almost. Mm-hmm. And it's unclear what this could be. There's been a lot of speculation. But he has, unlike the first time, apparently, he has transferred power and authority to his deputy secretary, which I think, lessons learned. Okay, good. We pray that he'll be okay. I don't know what's going on with the guy. I mean, I know that you can have problems after prostate cancer surgery. You can have bleeding, usually an acute problem. You can have infection, obviously. But to be rushed to the hospital, I don't know whether there's something more going on here. And we just pray that he gets better.
We do, and he's obviously getting great medical care, because that sounds very concerning.
And this at a time when tensions are just boiling right in the Middle East. And we have 2 Israeli hostages were released that just overnight. So that's happened, and they seem to be in good shape. They were found in a private home in southern Gaza. I find that interesting. We don't know if that is maybe a Hamas sympathizer. I find this interesting because I'm always conflicted in areas where there's crime, whether it's a hotbed of crime here in Columbia or in any other urban area. And you wonder, why don't, it's almost a mini cartel gang kind of a mentality, I think, sometimes. I know in urban St. Louis, we used to struggle with the fact in the drug-infested areas, there were people who lived in those areas who had nothing to do with it, but yet they suffered the consequences of it. And you always scratch your head,
right.
So why aren't you calling people out? Tell the police, there they are. I think it's because they don't trust that the justice system will put them away.
Well, they're afraid of retribution more than anything else. They're afraid if their names could get on the scanner somehow.
Yeah.
the majority of people, and in my series last week, I hope people had a chance to listen to it about that new youth center. Lonnie Lockhart Bay very much addressed what you just talked about, and he served 26 years in prison himself, and he said it best. He said the majority of people who are living in poverty don't want to live around crime. They don't want that. They do not. They fear, and they don't want to live in fear. But Randy, if they call and it gets found out that they called, I mean, it's just it could be scary.
You know what they say about snitches.
Well, and there was a witness in a high profile case in St. Louis. It was a teenager that came forward in they called it this. I forgot what the headline in the Post-Dispatch was. Murderous family. To the point where Congressman Clay actually did a story. He was a congressman at the time about it. They found out he had given him the information, and he got killed at a bus stop. The witness.
But now let's be clear though. You often give out the number of the anonymous tip.
That's right.
Is that an ironclad guarantee? In the subsequent prosecution and trial phase, it will remain anonymous?
That is absolutely correct.
Okay, well, that's important for everyone to hear.
573-875-TIPS in Columbia, 573-659-TIPS in Jefferson City.
There you go.
And what they can do, if they choose to come forward with additional information, they would probably have to give their names at that point. They can. But no, if you call that number, they don't want your name. They just want to know who the suspect or suspect is. And you're still eligible for a reward. But a lot of people use that because they do fear retribution.
Oh, John has some interesting information on that shooter in Joel Osteen's church in Houston. We'll bring that when we come back.
The weeds on that.
Okay, that's interesting. Oh boy. Marcus made some hits yesterday by talking about the crisis at the border for the first time that I can remember. He acknowledged that. Votes keep coming in from you guys on the text line, 573-874-9390. Stephanie, what's on your leftover plate?
Well, I'm watching the State House this week. It's been contentious, to say the least, but we are seeing hearings continue today in the House. There are some hearings on education reform, on ESA expansion. There are some bills that will expand the amount of money dedicated to ESAs. The other bills would expand who's eligible, and it's that latter category that I really hope that they work on. Because the number of people who are actually eligible, I think, is quite small, and I would like to see that expanded.
Yeah, when you look at the disparity in what they spend across the state in various places on students, they need to work on that funding mechanism and the amounts that are allowable. And you're right, continue to expand access to choice. I don't know why they can't take a quantum leap and go where Arizona, Iowa have gone, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah, I know. I looked at it, and we ended up moving for educational choice. Yeah. And I looked at it, and I would have been ineligible and still had to move under the existing program.
Huh.
And so I really hope that they can figure that out. And then over on the Senate side, there are continued hearings, and I know we've got a lot of family members who care a lot about property tax. And so it looks like in the Economic Development Committee in the Senate today, they're going to be hearing some bills related to property tax and property tax relief.
Well, if nothing else, Eigel's not going to get his way and get an abolition of the property tax, but maybe they'll do something in valuation or something else.
Hopefully.
Anything's a good, I think just the idea of renting your property from the government after you've already bought it and paid sales tax. Gets my goat. How about you, John?
Yeah, well, it's especially one of those deals, We've talked to so many people that have moved to Missouri from other states, and they get a tax bill in the mail, and they go down and say, hey, I paid my taxes when I bought the car. And it's like, no, it's Missouri. You still owe.
That's right.
And you will next year.
And after that, even when it's depreciated out and it has no value, if you own it. And you're supposed to report horses and domestic animals, everything.
Trailers. Boats.
Yeah.
Boats.
Yeah.
Airplanes.
Even a little tiny utility trailer, 8x10. Although you see people have these in their driveway.
I've got one. Yeah. We got to report it and pay on it.
I don't know. I'd like to see that replaced with something else if they're going to have to come up with the funding. It's just something about that. It seems to be just a rub salt in the wound kind of a thing. Now, John, as we were heading out of the last segment, once in a while we get excited about something that's reported. We're looking into something, but you saw a report about that shooter in a Houston church and potentially some identity there.
Yeah, the deal was, and they're still trying to figure out if the woman they said was politically motivated or a disturbed individual. She shot and wounded one person. She had a little 5-year-old with her. Some off-duty law enforcement officers returned fire inside Joel Osteen's megachurch down there, wounded the kid, killed her. And now reports from down in Texas say the shooter used a rifle that had Free Palestine written on it.
Wow.
It was also claiming to have bombs with her, and they brought in the bomb squad, the EOD guys, and didn't find anything.
Well, that's a plausible thought because, I think we've seen in this in the wake of the October 7th killings and the retaliation with the assault on Gaza by IDF forces from Israel, with allegedly 27,000 Palestinian victims of that caught in the, quote, crossfire. I don't believe those numbers. I believe those are Hamas reported numbers. We've certainly seen it right out here in Jefferson City last week at that AIPAC thing that Jennifer was at, and Jay Ashcroft told us he was knocked down. Those Palestinian sympathizers, they are not only vocal, but sometimes violent right here in America.
Remember the one in Orange County a couple of years ago where the man and wife who were both Arabic shot up, I guess, the Orange County Health Department out there and killed several people.
That's right. I had forgotten about that, but you're so right. Yeah. So these politically motivated shootings are increasingly troubling. Anything as we wrap it up here, Hannah? For you and your leftovers, any TikTok things you've run across?
Go Taylor's boyfriend.
Go Taylor's boyfriend.
and the
swamp
soup.
Parade in KC is Wednesday. Okay. Well, we'll keep following all these stories and more and see you tomorrow